Hello and welcome to Carlos Castaneda, The Wheel of Time, the wisdom of the shamans of ancient Mexico, or sorcerers of ancient Mexico, naguals. We're talking about nagualism. Excuse that sound. So these quotations are from Don Juan and from The Eagle's Gift, the sixth book in the series. So, starting from where we left off the last time, losing the human form is like a spiral. It gives a warrior the freedom to remember himself as straight fields of energy, and this in turn makes him even freer. A warrior knows that he is waiting, and he knows what he is waiting for, and while he waits, he feasts his eyes upon the world. A warrior's ultimate accomplishment is to enjoy the joy of infinity. Don Juan describes losing the human form, or whatever conglomeration of energy fields comprise the human form. They are straightened out, released, subsumed into the whole, to infinity, or to the totality of oneself, the energy of the cosmos or universe, and that process of losing the human form is like a spiral in its release, in its energetic release, in its energetic pattern, in its energetic expression. It's like a spiral. And this gives the practitioner the freedom to remember himself as straight fields of energy. So the spiral must be, what I deduce from this is that the spiral that is the human form is due to its state as distortion and limitation, distorted by a lifetime of bad habits and misuse, as we've said before. So that when the energy fields get straightened out, the distortion is released as a spiral, and this allows the warrior to remember himself, herself, oneself, as straight fields of energy. So the energy fields are straightened out, that's what it means, and the straightening out of the energy fields makes one freer, because then one is not bound by energetic bondage, by energetic limitation, by being bound up, tied up, entangled. In order for energy to flow freely, it must flow through a straight tube. It can't flow freely when it's compacted, compressed, bound, bonded, limited, closed off, squared off, boxed off in some way, you see. So that's it's a process of straightening out those energy fields. Don Juan says a warrior knows that he is waiting, and the process of this straightening out is one has to be patient with it, because it's a lifelong endeavour. Being a warrior, being a practitioner, warrior is a concept that one applies to the quest for self-knowledge, self-knowing, self-realisation, self-understanding, which is the same as to say to understand the cosmos, in all its manifestations, including the self, because the self is part and whole. The self is part of the cosmos, but it is the cosmos. The self contains the whole cosmos, and that is its individuality, the great self, the Atman, the true original self. sometimes described in Eastern literature. This is my understanding. So he knows that he's waiting for that, right? He knows that he's waiting for that moment when he's completely free, abiding in and as the totality, because only the totality has individuality and true freedom, because individuality means that which cannot be divided. It's total, complete. It can't be broken down any further, you see. And while he waits, he feasts his eyes upon the world. He witnesses the marvellous phenomena, the phenomena that present themselves as the world in daily life, in perception, squeezes all of the juice from experience, absorbs the lessons, the learning of experience, recapitulates fully lived experience. A warrior lives an extravagant life because he knows that he's going to be here for a very short time. But once that energy is unbounded, released, reframed, total and complete, once one has attained to the perfection of the soul, then one enjoys the joy of infinity. That's the ultimate accomplishment. Total freedom. That's what we're here for. So, isn't that amazing? You know, we're not confined or limited to this exclusively identified with body mind. We can transcend, include that, but ultimately the transcendence of it is not to be exclusively identified with the body mind and the illusory appearance that the world is a fixed place, that there is a metaphysically given world. There isn't. There is no world as such. There is only perception. Waking up to the totality of life itself, reality itself. We can even go beyond terms such as spirit, the divine, the Tao, Atman, self, and nirvana, and other concepts or names we choose to ascribe to it, that which is indescribable in language. But nonetheless, we have to talk about it to have an idea where we're going with all this. And let's move on to the next quote then. The course of a warrior's destiny is unalterable. The challenge is how far he can go and how impeccable he can be within those rigid bounds. So the rigid bounds, as Don Juan describes, are the patterns that are set in place that determine your destiny. Now, I don't think this is fixed, but I think that fate is something that, from my studies of Taoism, the way I understand it is that destiny is something that pushes us towards the true original self, whereas fate is something that tries to put us further into ignorance and darkness and suffering, misery, limitation. So it takes us away from the absolute infinity and makes us more self-contracted, more bonded, more unfree, if you like. So then Dorwan is saying here that the course of a warrior's destiny is unalterable. So I would say from that he's saying that it, you can't change it. Now, whether that means that it's fixed, I don't know. I don't believe it is. But Donwan is saying it's unalterable, and the challenge is how far that one can go and how impeccable he can be given those limitations. You could apply it to anyone with any set of circumstances, or say one is poor or one doesn't have much money or opportunities in education. Well, there's always the opportunity to learn. There's many avenues for learning, and there's many other ways to live. And despite the current materialist model and the education system model, you can go to the library, you can learn from the internet, you can read books, you can become self-educated, you can make money for yourself, you can find ways to make money. There's always ways to go about at least ameliorating your circumstances, as is proved by many examples of men and women who have done just that, turned the ship around. And if they couldn't turn that around, well, there is the paradoxical argument that nothing could be done about it anyway, because this is I know this sounds like a kind of fatalistic approach, but I don't think it's as clear cut and dried and simplified as that. I don't think it's as simple as that. I don't quite have my head around it either, I must say. Destiny and fate and all that. But I do believe in impeccability. I do believe that these things are here to challenge us. All the questions we have, the challenges that we face, the obstacles that we encounter, they're all here to teach us to become more freeing, more understanding, not necessarily fighting, not resisting them, but learning from them, illuminating the darkness. Light doesn't conquer darkness, it illuminates it, right? From Don Juan. People's actions no longer affect a warrior when he has no more expectations of any kind. A strange peace becomes the ruling force in his life. He has adopted one of the concepts of a warrior's life: detachment. Very true, because we can see in our own lives how attachment, especially to things like money and fame, can and good looks, success, certain people, girlfriends, boyfriends, partners, husbands, wives, friends, family members, colleagues, associates, partners, and whoever it is you're currently related to. But if you have intense feelings for a member of the opposite sex, someone else, it can really screw up your spiritual cultivation if you get too overly attached, because you can't. The nature of these intense, powerful emotions can lead one to perform badly in other areas of life. When it's going well, it can do exactly the opposite. And I'm not saying that relationships are a bad thing. Certainly not, and not that one can't learn from them, even the bad ones. But if you get too infatuated, attached, obsessed with another person, for example, it can really mess things up for you. Because you can't concentrate, you can't stop thinking about the person, you can't meditate properly, You're not able to discipline yourself in other areas. You might comfort eat, and all sorts of negative habits can develop as a result of that attachment. So this is one of the ways in which attachment causes suffering. Another way is attachment to money, attachment to material things. Why? Because material things in themselves are not real. They don't last. They're simply a temporary form of energy, a temporary phenomenon. You're not attached to the same toys now, at least I hope you're not, as you had when you were a kid. You don't have these toys anymore. You play with your mobile phones now, right? Your laptops, these kind of things, gadgets, it becomes a bit more sophisticated. But you're no longer playing with the fire engine or the doll or the teddy bear anymore. In the same way that things that you hold so precious now, like that item of clothing or that piece of furniture, is not going to mean so much to you when you have a broader view of reality. So becoming and you see how when people become too attached to material possessions, they'll fight and kill over them. That's how far they're willing to go to protect these illusory things. So it's not a wise nor intelligent way to live, to be that way, to covet material things. It's nice to have things, but not to place much importance on them. You know what I mean? One should never become too attached to anything. And fame, if you lose that, well, imagine how terrible it would be to be totally famous. People don't think about this, but I was watching something to do with Johnny Depp and how he had encountered some serious problems lately. I think he's a great actor. I think he's got a lot of talent, certainly. But he's become so famous, he's reached such a level of fame that he can't go out and eat he can't go to the movies, he can't go out in public alone, he can't eat in a restaurant alone. He's got to take bodyguards out and an entourage to watch the door, and because there's a lot of crazy people and obsessed fans and that might do him some harm. Imagine having to live like that. Is that freedom? So this fame, this desire for fame, it can destroy a person, because we're not meant. It's not natural to be such an object of admiration and desire. It's not natural for a person to be able to even contemplate or handle that level of fame. Certainly, to be recognised and appreciated and praised for one's work as an artist, writer, actor, well, that's another matter. That can be nice, but still, when it becomes extreme, then it causes serious problems. And not only that, it enhances the ego as a form of self-identity, the separate self-sense, the illusory separate self-sense. So there is great profundity in obscurity and invisibility. I think it takes a certain degree of solitude and maturity to understand this. But anyway, let's move on. So that's detachment. Detachment does not automatically mean wisdom, but it is nonetheless an advantage, because it allows the warrior to pause momentarily to reassess situations, to reconsider positions, in order to use that extra moment consistently and correctly. However, a warrior has to struggle unyieldingly for the duration of his life. Well, the struggle, in a sense, there's no struggle, because it's not so much about struggle in that sense, the way I see it now, but a kind of letting go, acceptance, untying. But certainly I've struggled against a lot of things. Petty tyrants. I've struggled against negative mindsets states. I've struggled against bullies in the past. I've struggled against bosses. I've struggled against creative blocks. So many things. Mania and depression and narcissism, all kinds, vanity, all kinds of things I've struggled against. But this is the path of the warrior. The struggles help us identify where we're limited and how we. I mean, we can be great without being self-important about it. You know, we have to move beyond self-importance. And detachment doesn't automatically mean wisdom. Just because you're detached, it doesn't mean that you will gain the full ripening of your experience to a degree where you can say things with a certain authority, a certain sense of self-knowing beyond any doubt or question. You've attained to a certain level, you know. But it's an advantage because it allows us to step back, to be more objective, to reconsider positions. And Dorman's saying in order to use that extra moment correctly and over and over again consistently, a warrior has to struggle unyieldingly. This is a bit different from where I usually come from because I mean I can see the benefit of doing that, but on the other hand, it does seem kind of stupid to me, you know, because one ultimately can't struggle against what's inevitable, and then there's a great degree of wisdom I feel to yielding, to not doing, and this is also part of the Toltec teachings. But certainly, at least till one has reached a certain point, one has to struggle, and I still struggle with certain things. So I guess it is an ongoing thing. Anyway, until the next time, thanks again for listening, and hope you found the video useful. If you did, pop a like on it. Always helps for more people to know about this stuff. Thanks again.